As 1st Army senior non-commissioned officers, with incredible pride that I look at the picture of a proud and distinguished young non-commissioned officer. Staff Sgt. Woodson was a corporal on the day that he stormed the beaches of Normandy, so this photo of him wearing sergeant stripes was taken some months later. As you look at him, try to imagine all he had seen, all he had experienced, and know that he would soon be asked to fight in the Pacific, even after all he had done on the European continent. I can almost hear him utter that non-commissioned officer creed: "No one is more professional than I. I'm a member of a time-honored corps that is the backbone of the Army." You can see Staff Sergeant Waverly wears the same blockade patch on my uniform today. It was designed for the 1st Army doughboys who changed the course of human history during World War I. It was worn by Corporal Woodson as he waded onto the bloody beaches of Normandy, and by General Omar Bradley as he planned that operation, and it is also worn by every 1st Army soldier today. I'm honored to be joined here this morning by each of you, but I wish more than anything that every young soldier in our formation could be here so they could fully grasp the lineage to which they belong and know the unsung heroes who have paved their way. Like us, they would be here today in pursuit of honor. General Omar Bradley, the 1st Army commander on D-Day and one of the key architects of the Normandy invasion, once said that battles are won by soldiers in the mud and trenches, but wars are won by the soldier and civilian working together. Senator Van Hollen, we're honored to have you join us here today, and we acknowledge your ongoing dedication to our 1st Army soldier, Waverly Woodson, his family, and his memory. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Chris Van Hollen.
Good morning. Thank you, sir, and thank you for your service. We are gathered here today to honor and to salute the extraordinary valor and courage demonstrated by Corporal Waverly Woodson on D-Day, June 6, 1946, in service to the United States of America. We're gathered here today because his wife, now widow, Ms. Joanne Woodson, and their beloved children have never given up and have still not given up in pursuit of ensuring that Waverly Woodson is properly recognized by the country he loved for the heroic deeds he performed. Today's special ceremony, and I want to thank everybody who made this special ceremony happen, is a very important step on the path towards securing justice for Corporal Woodson. To Mrs. Woodson, we thank you for your fortitude, your perseverance, and determination in pursuit of justice. To all the members of the 1st Army Division Command, both past and present, thank you for your service to our country and for all your efforts to acknowledge a former comrade and to right the wrongs of the past. Corporal Woodson was on the beaches of Normandy, helping to turn the tide of war in favor of the Allied forces, and in doing so, shaping the face of human history. An Army medic, Corporal Woodson was assigned to the 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion, the only all-black unit to storm the beaches of Normandy. As his boat approached Omaha Beach, it hit submerged German mines, blowing the boat into the air and killing the man sitting directly beside him. Corporal Woodson was hit by shrapnel, and for a moment, he too thought he would die from his wounds. But even injured, he raced into danger to treat others who were wounded. And for 30 hours and under fire, he dispensed plasma and set the bones of his fellow soldiers. He rescued them from drowning and administered CPR, saving the lives of dozens, if not hundreds, of Allied soldiers before collapsing from his own wounds. Today, Mrs. Woodson will be presented the Bronze Star that Corporal Woodson was authorized to receive in 1945, but not presented with during his lifetime. And she will be presented on his behalf with the Combat Medic Badge. And you will be hearing much more about that from others today. This is important new recognition, and I want to thank the First Army for pursuing that badge. And this ceremony will bring us one important step closer to ensuring that Corporal Woodson is ultimately awarded the military's highest award, the Medal of Honor. The Medal of Honor is awarded for the conspicuous gallantry at risk of life above and beyond the call of duty. There is no clearer example of that than the actions of Corporal Woodson on D-Day, a man who, despite his own wounds, carried on at great risk to his own life to save so many comrades. It is clear from looking at our history that Corporal Woodson has not yet been presented with the Medal of Honor because of historic discrimination. If you look back at the awards from World War II and the Medals of Honor, 50 years later was the first that they were awarded by President Clinton at the White House. In the case of Corporal Woodson, he was recommended at the time for that, but because of lost records, due to no fault of his own, the information was not then available. I think many of you know that more than 80% of the Army's records were destroyed in fires at the National Personnel Records Center in 1973. Mrs. Woodson reached out to our office 8 years ago. It's been a long journey. And it was then that I wrote to the then acting Secretary of the Army about Corporal Woodson's case. We did so based on important new information revealed by historian Linda Hervieux, and I want to acknowledge her efforts as we gather here today. Since then, my colleagues and I, on a bipartisan and bicameral basis, have continued to bring new information to the attention of the Army. And I want to thank members of the First Army for their research and their pursuit of the facts here. I know General James has been very involved, as has Captain Braflat, who I just had the honor of meeting, and to all the other colleagues here who are part of the mission that brings us here today for this important ceremony as one important step, but step toward the ultimate goal of full recognition for the Medal of Honor. My colleagues and I just passed recently legislation that took away the time limitation on presenting Medals of Honor in combat. And we did that because we believe that there is no time limit on doing the right thing. No time limit on ensuring that our country provides recognition and justice to those who were overlooked in the past because of the color of their skin. So today, I want to thank the First Army, I want to thank the family for this very important moment and this very important step in that journey to justice. Thank you, Mrs. Woodson. Thank you and your family. Thank all of you who serve our country in uniform. Our country has seen tremendous progress over the years. We were not born perfect. We know that this is a journey toward building a more perfect union. Today is a very important step on that path. And I thank you all for honoring our nation in the way that Corporal Woodson honored our nation. Thank you all for being here on this important day.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Senator Hollen, it's great to see you this morning, and Waverly family, it's great to have you all here. I want you all to take a look around, and what you're seeing is the best of humanity on display here today, the best of America. You're looking at the fabric of our society, black, white, others on display here on this great, beautiful day in the hallowed grounds of Arlington National Cemetery. This is what America is all about, what you're seeing here today. I got a couple of messages for you, and I would like to say that unfortunately, I've had to attend too many ceremonies just like this one, where we come together today and we recognize a remarkable and extraordinary soldier in Staff Sgt. Waverly Woodson. I've done that all over the country, where our black soldiers have not gotten their complete recognition for a job well done. And I cannot count the many times, because obviously I'm a black general, that I get called to come to ceremonies just like this. And this is a very special ceremony for me, and you'll find out why in a second. But one of the things that you must realize as we sit here today, that black Americans, blacks, have participated in every single campaign in our nation's history. And we have heroes from every single campaign. You all have heard the names in the past and the units in the past, like the Great Buffalo Soldiers, the 761st Tank, the Triple Nickel, the Tuskegee Airmen. And in those formations are heroes that we'll never hear about. Never hear about. Just like the hero that we're recognizing today. Now, as I heard the story about Staff Sgt. Woodson, it was something that I truly realized as the historian. Kevin, where are you? We spent about an hour and a half together a couple of weeks ago, and he took me from front to end. And I realized one critical thing about Staff Sgt. Woodson, amongst other remarkable things, but one stood out to me. So if you think about it, Staff Sgt. Woodson was born in 1922. He was born in a time when this country was at a horrible place when it came to how we treated blacks in this country. Prejudice, injustice, discrimination, segregation, you name it. But yet, he still raised his hand to serve. He goes on and he attempts to be an officer in the Artillery Corps. Brilliant man, highly educated. And because the color of his skin, he was denied the right to be an officer in the Artillery Corps. So he comes into the Army as a combat medic. Duty to serve, he comes in the Army as a combat medic. And he goes over to World War II, and he's one of the more fortunate black soldiers. And the reason why he was fortunate, he actually fought for his country. Something that was denied for the majority of the blacks to serve during that time. And I'll pull on that string a little bit more. So just follow me as I walk this story down. And then he goes and he participates in the Battle of Normandie, and he storms the beach of Omaha, the 6th of June. I want you to hold that date, 6th of June. He comes back to the States, and he's again treated like a second-class citizen for what he has accomplished for this great nation. And if you take a look as you walk through his 83 years of life, he is discriminated against along the way. And the Medal of Honor, which he truly deserves, he does not have. The Purple Heart that took a while to get. The Bronze Star Medal, he was handed on his way to Pacific and not duly recognized. So 83 years worth of discrimination and injustice. But I would surmise one thing. Let's go back to 6th June, when he stormed the beaches. And if anyone ever heard or read about the fight during World War II on the 6th of June, it was a horrific, bloody, inhumane fight. Truly one of the hardest fights in our nation's history, in which he participated and did all kind of heroic acts. And he saved the lives of more than 200 people, 200 white people, 3 British that were in the ocean that he pulled out and conducted artificial resuscitation. And here's my point to you. In war, in the heat of battle, when things go to, you know what I'm getting ready to say, you don't look over to your left and your right to see what color folks are, because you're at the mercy of your friends and your colleagues on the battlefield. And so one day out of his 83 years, one day out of his 83 years of life, I would surmise that he felt equal as a human being. One day. And that was on the 6th of June. He fought for his country, and he fought along his white counterparts, and he saved the lives of his white counterparts. One day. Now, you all may think that's dramatic, but here's why I would surmise that only one day. So some of you know about my history and story. My grandfathers, both of them, served in 1st Army, in a segregated Army and a segregated Air Corps. They proudly served, but both were denied the right to go and fight for this great country. Many of you may not know, over 1 million Black Americans served in World War II. There were just a small amount that were able to fight. And if you were in the Army Air Corps or in the Navy, you were not able to even go near the front lines. You were peeling potatoes or doing stuff of that nature. Menial task. My grandfathers served in World War II. The grandfather that I spent most of my time with, he would tell me stories, and I spent most of my life growing up with him. Unfortunately, he died when I was 8 years old. But every single morning, I had a twin sister and an older brother. He would get us up. We would have to make the bed military style. We would have to stand at attention and hear the Star-Spangled Banner. And we would have to salute every single morning. Now, you're talking about a soldier just like Staff Sgt. Waverly Woodson, that no matter what happened in this country, no matter the bad, that is a story to tell you, love a country, no matter the bad. And every single day I had to go through that. And I didn't realize what it was all about. And I used to hear war stories. And then when I was 8 years old, my grandfather took ill. And he was in the hospital. And back in those days when you were a kid, you couldn't go into the hospital. But my grandfather asked to see me. And the doctor knew that he was dying. And I did not really know what was going on at 8 years old. I go into the hospital. And I'm going to give you some profound words that have stuck with me and will stick to me until I die. I was by his bed, and it was the first time, and you could tell that he was dying, and I was just crying and really in bad shape. And he told me to come close to him. And he whispered in my ear, and he said, "You're going to go in the Army one day, and you're going to rise to the rank of sergeant." Okay, I want you to think about what that meant. You're going to rise one day, and you're going to make the rank of sergeant. My grandfather served in the Army Air Corps for 11 years. He went in as a private, and he came out as a private. Went in as a private and came out after 11 years. And so making sergeant was his hope, his dreams, and it was something that he wanted his grandson to do. He couldn't fathom, based on the time that he grew up and what he had gone through, he could not fathom me making general. That was nowhere in the realm of possible. A black general officer, he couldn't see that far. But I made it my mission not to be focused on becoming a general, because I served as the rank of a sergeant as well. So I met my grandfather's dream. But I wanted to go farther because I wanted to continue to pave the way like he paved the way for me, and Staff Sergeant Waverly Woodson paved the way for me. And let me just tell you how special this is for me today. When you really think about it, I stand before you today as a black general officer, having commanded 1st Army, the very same unit that your family member was discriminated, was segregated, injustice, prejudice, the very same unit. And you may ask, what makes a person wants to join the military and serve a country where you have those types of things rooted in it? You're probably interested in that, right? You want to know, right? So I'm going to tell you. It is hope. It is hope. Staff Sergeant Waverly Woodson fought for his fought for his country, and my grandfather fought for his country because of hope. And I know he has a grandson that's a Marine. That Marine is in the service, or was in the service, on the backs of his grandfather. And I serve faithfully on the back of your husband, ma'am, and my grandfather's. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for those who plowed the way for me. And so I come to you and I talk to you from a gracious servant, an Army leader, a general officer, and I appreciate what your husband not only did for this country, not only for blacks, but for me. God bless you. God bless this family. And we must continue to fight to recognize this great American. And I'm all in. God bless you all. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, sir.
I thought very hard about what I wanted to say to everyone here today. I attempted to script something, but that I didn't feel would do justice to today. all of my dad's duties have been chronicled well. General James, General Twitty have really recounted a lot of his actions. But I kind of wanted to speak to everyone from the heart. One thing about my dad that I will always remember is his care for other people, for fellow man. It did not matter with the race of the person. And mom acknowledges that 100%. All through his life, at least as far as his adult life that I knew, he was always there to help other people. And I feel strongly that he got that sense of family feeling initially through the First Army. I know there's been a lot of recount over the years of racial prejudices in Jim Crow South, and particularly, unfortunately, in the Army at that time. I think that when Dad was on Normandy Beach on June 6th, he didn't see any of that. I recently was fortunate enough to go to Omaha Beach and stand in the spots where Dad landed at as part of a documentary that's going to be airing in 2024. I really didn't have a full sense of feeling of the gravity of what the soldiers went through until I got there that day. We were there at 6 a.m. sunrise when his particular unit, the 320th Barrage Balloon Battalion, hit the beach. And it's truly just an incredible experience to go there and actually somewhat relive what they went through. It will always go down in one of my strongest memories of life, of being able to be part of that. My dad's family was a major part of his life, and I am so glad that both sides of his family are here today. It's Michelle, my niece, my first cousin Larry, have been instrumental in bringing everyone together. It was way too much for me to try to do on my own, just to coordinate our family together. So I do thank both you all for doing that. Deeply appreciated. I also wanted to give mention to my nephew Brian. Brian, I thank you for your service. Dad talked about you often and your patriotism. Extremely proud. I don't know if you ever were aware of that, but I wanted to make you aware that how proud he was of you serving in the Marines. So I thank you for that. I'm going to kind of just keep it in closing and make this short. That again, I want to thank everyone that has come here today to make this possible. I'm going to Captain Bravlov. I'm going to affectionately refer to you as Kevin. Thank you for everything that you've done. Instrumental. Kirsten Hampton, in particular, is another person that's with the First Army that has been my point of contact for a number of years now, and outstanding representation of the First Army. That's really all that I had to say today. Mom, I love you, and thank you for making this possible for me, from you and Dad. Thank you.